a neighbor kindly gave her a jar of coffee. After drinking, she found out that it was not coffee but bone ash. Today, we will tell you a story about the neighbor. Let's start now. The main actress, Ying, rented a cheap apartment in an old building. This place was always smelly. When moving in, she saw that a girl was being bullied by her boyfriend next door. Ying was scared, so she had a nightmare. She immediately called the landlord and asked him to solve it. Otherwise, she would call the police. But the landlord didn't care and told her to either stop being talkative or move out. Ying had no choices, so she just accepted it and told her neighbors to stop being annoying by herself. After a shout, everything was quiet. Ying wanted to get to know her neighbors, so she knocked on every single room. At that time, she saw the blind man who beat his girlfriend yesterday. His face looked creepy. He was even wearing a lot of Buddha statues on his neck. He didn't care about Ying, so he came back to his room. It had not been quiet for long. The argument began again, so she was not able to relax. She couldn't stand and call the police, so she decided to resolve this problem by violence. Ying was both drilling a hole in the wall and screaming to shut them down. She didn't care about anybody and finally made a hole in the low-quality wall. A sound of glass breaking and a girl's scream suddenly came. She didn't know what happened, so she went outside to check. She immediately saw a girl whose name was Emma had a wound on her hand. So she brought Emma to her room and wrapped the wound. Looking at the wounds on her body, Ying was sure that Emma has been bullied for a long time. She wanted to call the police but then was stopped by Emma, because Emma didn't have anywhere to go. She couldn't move out of her boyfriend's house unless she could find a place to rent. Furthermore, making the problem bigger would piss the landlord off. He may kick everyone out. Ying didn't have any other ways, so she told Emma to stay at her room and come back when her boyfriend was asleep. Then, Ying tried to find a way to help Emma. She wanted to gather her neighbors and have a small talk to resolve the violence in the most peaceful way. She handed out invitations to every single apartment saying that the party was on Saturday. Whoever was determined to join needed to write their name at the front door. After that, Ying and Emma talked until midnight. When she woke up, she noticed that somebody was passing by. Moreover, there was not only one. Then she even heard somebody trying to knock and unlock the door. They both carefully opened the door but didn't see anything. There were just a few pairs of shoes on the ground and some names left on the wall. Later on, shoes and names were getting more and more. Ying thought that she could meet everyone on Saturday. She usually talked to Emma, and they were both getting closer. Not only drinking the coffee that was given by Emma, but also drawing pictures together. But there was always a stinky pair of shoes at the door, which annoyed Ying a lot. Therefore, she decided to install a camera to see who that person was. As a result, she had a nightmare once again. She saw a girl hanging herself from a ceiling, which freaked her out. After watching the camera, she saw these shoes had appeared from the air. Nobody was there, and then there was a strange sound from the ceiling. A lot of rotten fruits were falling down. It looked like this room was annoyed by devils. She threw those shoes away in fright, but when she came back home, she couldn't find her house in any way. After going back and forth for a while, she saw those shoes again. When she hadn't reacted yet, many people standing right in front of her room. Then Ying stood stock still, until Emma came and calmed her fears. The people were suddenly gone. Ying couldn't stop being skeptical, so she asked Emma who they were. Also, her boyfriend, what was his job? Did he cause these ghost problems in revenge? Emma didn't say a word. She just told Ying to not find or talk to him. Ying was too scared that she didn't want to stay here anymore. But the rent was too expensive at that moment. After searching around, she could just share a small house with others. It was actually better than her old apartment. Before leaving, she wanted to say goodbye to Emma, so she came to her room. Unexpectedly, the door immediately shut with a slam and was locked. Inside was full of pictures of dead people, and their urns beside. The names that were on the urns were also the names written on her front door. Emma was also one of them. It turned out that the land prices in the cemetery were too high, so many people had to rent a cheap apartment to put urns. In addition, the blind man that she met the other day was the manager of this place. He had a psychic ability that could prevent demons from behaving perversely. It was even more frightening that today was Saturday. It was time. A lot of devils appeared to take part in the party that Ying wanted to organize. Then everything was suddenly dark. Ying was also gone. Emma took over her body. The thing that Emma made Ying drink every day was not also coffee but her bone ash. After finishing it, Emma could immediately take over Ying's body, and no longer needed to live in that small square anymore. She would have her new life from that day. That's all for the story. In addition to the features of horror films, this movie also reflects the fact of high rental prices, which make not only people but also devils have no place to live. Besides, don't choose something just because it is cheap, and don't believe in people that you don't know.